In the dead of night, Rahul, a weary traveler, stumbled upon an old train station. The flickering lights revealed a rusty black train, its engine hissing like a beast. Strangely, there was no one else on the platform except for a silent conductor with hollow eyes. Against his better judgment, Rahul boarded, noticing the train bore no name or number. As the doors clanked shut, the platform vanished into the fog. The compartment was oddly luxurious, with velvet seats and golden lamps that emitted a faint, otherworldly glow. Rahul noticed a handful of passengers, their faces obscured by shadows. They sat eerily still, their heads turning in unison to watch him. A chill ran down his spine as he realized they weren't blinking. The train jolted forward, plunging into an unending darkness. As Rahul settled into his seat, he began hearing faint whispers coming from the walls. Pressing his ear against the panel, he made out fragmented words. "Help us. Trapped. Never leave." The whispers turned into anguished screams, startling him. He turned to the passengers, but they sat unmoved, their vacant eyes staring straight ahead. The walls seemed to pulse as if alive. A disheveled man in a conductor's uniform suddenly appeared, holding out an old, blood-stained ticket. "Your ticket, sir," he rasped, his voice guttural. Rahul handed over his ticket, noticing the man's skeletal hands trembling. The conductor stamped it, the sound echoing unnaturally, and disappeared into the shadows without another word. The ticket now bore strange symbols that glowed faintly red. The train entered a tunnel, and the compartment grew icy cold. Suddenly, scenes from Rahul's past began flickering outside the windows like a twisted movie reel. He saw moments of betrayal, regret, and pain he thought he had buried. A younger version of himself appeared, staring back at him with accusing eyes. The train roared louder, drowning out his protests. Rahul noticed a young woman sitting across from him, her pale face half lit by the golden lamp. She smiled faintly, then leaned forward to whisper, "Don't stay too long." Before he could respond, her figure dissolved into a cloud of black smoke. The other passengers didn't react, as if they hadn't noticed. Her empty seat began to creak ominously. Hunger drew Rahul to the dining car, where tables were laden with sumptuous otherworldly food. Yet, the dishes seemed to writhe, meat pulsed and bread bled when cut. A waiter with sunken eyes served him a drink that smelled of decay. Rahul fled, leaving behind the grotesque meal untouched. The dining car door slammed shut behind him, sealing in muffled laughter. Returning to his seat, Rahul noticed a full-length mirror he hadn't seen before. When he glanced into it, his reflection moved independently, mouthing words he couldn't hear. Suddenly, blood began to drip from the glass, pooling at his feet. The reflection grinned maliciously before vanishing. Rahul turned away, trembling, as the mirror cracked with a deafening sound. A voice crackled over the intercom, distorted and menacing. "Next stop, oblivion." The train's speed increased, the outside world now a blur of shadows. Rahul grabbed a passenger's shoulder, desperate for answers, but their body crumbled into ash. The voice laughed coldly, repeating the announcement as the train's lights dimmed. Rahul heard a child crying and followed the sound to an empty compartment. A small boy sat alone, clutching a battered teddy bear. "They took my parents," he whimpered, pointing toward the ceiling. As Rahul reached out to comfort him, the boy dissolved into a pile of ash. The teddy bear remained, its button eyes glinting ominously. Rahul tried to escape to another car, but found the doors locked. A faint glow emanated from a door marked, "Do not enter." Compelled by a strange force, he opened it to find a carriage filled with chained spirits, their hollow eyes pleading silently. As he stepped back in horror, the door slammed shut, locking him out. In a small storage compartment, Rahul discovered an old conductor's log. The brittle pages described the train's origins. It was cursed to ferry souls to the underworld. The log mentioned escape, but the instructions were smudged, unreadable. As he read, the log began to bleed, forcing him to drop it. Rahul fled down a corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly. The walls pulsed and the floor shifted under his feet. Shadows began to materialize, whispering his name with chilling clarity. He ran faster, but the corridor only grew darker and longer. A deep growl echoed from behind him, urging him to keep moving. A large, antique clock hung in the next compartment, its hands spinning wildly. Suddenly, it struck midnight, and the train screeched to a halt. Outside, a barren, lifeless landscape stretched endlessly under a blood-red sky. Rahul realized they were no longer in the mortal world. A shadowy figure approached Rahul, its voice echoing like a chorus. "You can leave, but at a cost," it hissed. The figure extended a bony hand, offering a contract etched with glowing symbols. Rahul hesitated, sensing the weight of the choice. The figure's eyes glowed, urging him to decide. Rahul refused the contract, choosing to rely on his instincts. He remembered the conductor's log and its hint about escape. Retracing his steps, he found a lever near the engine marked emergency brake. As he pulled it, the train trembled violently, and the walls began to crack. The chained spirits from the forbidden carriage broke free, flooding the train. They swirled around Rahul, screaming and clawing, their rage palpable. The train's structure began to collapse, its compartments imploding one by one. Rahul shielded himself, praying for deliverance as the spirits encircled him. Rahul found himself in the engine room, face to face with the shadowy figure. "You've sealed your fate," it growled, lunging at him. Rahul grabbed a glowing coal from the furnace and thrust it into the figure's chest. It screamed, disintegrating into ash as the train began to dissolve around him. As the train crumbled, a swirling vortex appeared where the engine once was. Rahul leapt into it, feeling his body being pulled in all directions. Colors and sounds blurred until he landed on solid ground. He opened his eyes to find himself back at the original platform, the train and its horrors gone. Rahul looked at his hands to find the cursed ticket still there. Its symbols now faded. The platform was eerily silent, except for the faint sound of a train whistle in the distance. As he walked away, he noticed a new passenger boarding a familiar black locomotive. Rahul realized the cycle would continue. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.